we're here to talk about Legion and everything that's coming, and the recent MER and anything else you guys want to talk about. So first of all, Rattati, thanks again for taking the time to join us on stream. Welcome.
No, thank you very much. Glad to be here. Aside
We
from
have
time zone issues we had this morning.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the full truth is that we, as I had announced yesterday, we were hoping to stream last night, but I screwed up the calendar invite. So we are delayed by a few hours, but we're hoping to make it up with lots of enthusiasm. And Rotati, I can see your camera is frozen. That's
No
what
way.
that's what chat is saying. But there you are back. I think maybe
All right.
maybe if you're not moving, you got to be dancing the entire time.
I'll just be like this.
um,
Slide.
let me start by talking a little bit about FanFest, because I was very, very sad to miss it, since I'm all the way over here in Australia. You held the keynote. You spent a lot of time on stage. Got to soak in the atmosphere. How was it, Ratati? What stood out for you at FanFest this year?
Being in Eldborg or Harpa is a huge change. It's just a much cooler venue. Like the old venue, Laugardalshöll, basically our kind of national stadium, is great, but this is incredible to be at Harpa. Like it's the same stage with Siguros and Bjork and everyone else. So that's pretty amazing. I think the enthusiasm was like we were more confident, we were happier, the sentiment is higher. Everything like all our all our KPIs or numbers are kind of positive. So we think that we feel that like the morale is higher both in the player base and the company. So it was very easy to be on stage, to be honest.
Great. And you announced a few new things. So
Yes.
and I have I've prepared a few questions about Legion, because I think a few things were explained, a few things were teased. There were also um, two discussion sessions on stage that answered a few of the questions, but I think I and the community still have a lot of questions. So if we jump right in, one of the big things that Legion is bringing is freelance jobs, right, or
Yep.
freelance contracts. It's a very exciting thing. Um, from your point of view, why do you think new players will use these freelance contracts, and why do you think corporations will? Why do you think this is such a big deal?
It just goes all the way back to the philosophy of EVE Online. We believe that if we give players tools, emergent gameplay will arise, and I can't imagine anything better than basically giving people the ability to create their own content. And this kind of content was identified as kind of a really good gateway for new players to understand that everything is player made. And I think someone, probably Nomad, said it was a revelation when I opened, coming from World of Warcraft or the classic MMOs, coming into the market, and literally everything was player made. Like to I think everyone is like, okay, so everyone is making like all of this is player made. There's no NPC offers really, like in classic MMO. So I think that's the realization. Like it just like sounds so like hard to achieve. So the vision for us is like, yes, the missions, like most of the missions could be created by players. All of what people do in nullsec and lowsec is self-organized anyway. So why not like give you the tools to have new players experience the same thing from a content or mission perspective? So I think it's pure in the Eve DNA to do it. And then second of all, I think it's basically just more hands do more work. We have a limited size team. Obviously, every dev team has enough to do, and we have a lot of volunteers, people who are really enthusiastic about both growing their corporations, but also bringing people into EVE Online just generally. Like they want to express, they want to bring people into this experience that they feel is so rewarding and so fun. And I think we are more than happy to help them help us.
I think in this sounds amazing, and I agree with you. It's a very much in the Eve DNA to make even missions player generated. I think the big challenge is going to be to get people, so discovery one, to make it discoverable for new players in the system. And I've seen some of the UI that you have done clearly, that you're aware of that. The other is there's got to be enough incentive, right? So as a market player, for example, I'm thinking, okay, if you make freelance contracts about bring me this many units of that or this many units of that, then you're directly in directly rivaling buy orders, for example, right?
Mm.
How do you feel like that is going to play out? Like, how do you ensure that one system is not hurting the other, or vice versa?
So this is a to me is a it's a raises all boats situation. Like the more new players that survive through this will just mean a more vibrant community and more, I would say, uh, a GTP coming from new players. I don't think there's a lot of like an actual value to the economy to players who are like unsure what to do, lack purpose, don't know where to go. So giving them these training wheels to start contributing to the economy is I think it's going to help everyone ultimately.
So
Um,
you think more
yeah.
of a sorry, go ahead.
No, basically I think this is a pure retention play, like for new players. It's just like two things. We're trying to elevate, like we're trying to put player corporations in the forefront. So it's super important, super important to also follow through with a lot of this philosophy from the character creator. Even like we need to show player corporations are the thing about Eve, not like picking a school or something in the character creator. Like this is something that we want to do next, is basically say like, hey, this game is about players and player corporations. This is not a classic MMO. You're not going to just do an NPC thing. You're not going to be in a purely safe zone. I think we need to just like be very clear up front. You should probably join a corp immediately. This is the whole thing. We want people to join fleets as fast as possible or join corporations as fast as possible. Like both of these things are really good. We know that people players teaching players, not just teaching or like having like tools, but just like literally talking to them, saying like, "Hey, we're gonna die and it's gonna be fine." We've seen that people dying together is the best retention, but people dying alone without any purpose is the worst retention. So this is all about connecting people as early as possible.
So you're seeing freelance missions much more as a step, like before everything
Yes,
else.
yes.
So
This is a gateway.
yeah.
We call it jokingly, we call it speed dating.
Hmm.
It's basically like, okay, do we have anything in common? Okay, cool. Next step. Like, do we have some kind of connection when we actually meet? Are we going to do something together? So it is. We're lacking some of the speed dating, like information. Let's say, like we don't have any way to express myself when I start. There's no like kind of classic badges or like I like PV or whatever. It's all very kind of hard. But we'd love to be able to express these things through your achievements, like where you are in the air career program, like being able to say, like, hey, I'm a PvE person. I'm looking for content. I'm in the Australian time zone.
Hmm.
Like, and then you have someone else pulling and saying, like, who this is a candidate. Like, let's try to get them into. And instead of saying join our corporation, because that sounds like okay, weird. Like, I'm not going to join a corporation day one, but I'll do a player-made mission to start, like, I'd rather do a player-made mission than an NPC mission. and maybe that's a start of a connection and a conversation, and then you start saying, oh, okay, they're actually this is an actual person. Like Johnny Dogood here, who made the mission, is actually the CEO of this corporation called, Friendly Newbies or whatever. And you're like,
Mhm.
okay, okay, they already shown that they're doing something for me without asking for anything in return, really. So maybe there's like an easier gateway into corporations. I
So
think people are a bit, yeah.
would you say it's 80%, like 80% a recruiting tool and only quote unquote 20% a means to another end, let's say economic gain for others, or content creation, or do you as CCP see it as mainly a recruiting tool?
Freelancing, the part, so this is a longer journey.
Hmm.
Organizational goals or and core projects is a part of that. Freelancing is a part of that. Um, and alliance projects ultimately is a part of that. And even NPC goals, like having NPCs having bigger goals than just like get item, deliver item, kill NPC. Maybe there's a bigger purpose to these NPC missions. Um, yes, freelancing is 80%, good number,
Hmm.
meant for recruiting. It's built with that in mind. It's about like bridging that gap. However, there's plenty of opportunities to use it in ways that we haven't imagined yet. I think they could be used for renting. I think they could be used for like low sec stuff, or like, outside of like the rules of action warfare engagement. Maybe there's some kind of a wrapper system around those kinds of things where you set up like goals to capture a system or whatever. I think people will find really cool use cases for it, but at the moment the functionality was aimed at that in the beginning.
So we learned from the panel after the keynote that these are going to be restricted to, I think, 5 jump range in the beginning. The
From the broadcasting station, yes.
Yeah. So if we're talking recruiting, then we're going to expect most of these freelance projects to be in high sec, probably, right? Because most new players aren't going to venture far enough into null sec or survive long enough to be able to accept the contracts there, or is this much more a tool that you envision used everywhere in New Eden?
So if you want to create a freelance project where you say like, hey, anyone who's renting in my nullsec corporation, you can
Hmm.
deliver these items into this into my citadel or whatever. So you could easily use that in nullsec and not like think about new players at all. But yes, we expect corporation offices that are going to be used for broadcasting going to be like in high demand in high sec when
Hmm.
we start this. Um, and this 5 jump thing is really also just a technical belt and suspenders. We we
Hmm.
we just know see what happens. It's a kind of like a small number to begin with. Maybe you can extend it, do something else with it, pay more to have a wider reach. I don't know.
The obvious comparison to what we have in game now is NPC missions, as you said yourself right now. I think NPC missions have seen over the years very little, I think, iteration on it, and now I think you said on stage that that's now you've basically decided, well, instead of overhauling the NPC mission system, let's focus on freelance projects. Is that fair? Like, does this mean a mission overall a mission overhaul is off the table?
It's not off the table because we want to modernize content and make sure that it's looks right, pays right, teaches the right things. But I don't believe that it's basically what we call the training wheels boot camp or whatever. Like it's the backup content, in my opinion, going forward. So it needs to
Okay.
be good enough. But to me, air career program, like things that teach you that you have the like you can basically do anything. It's just like picking a lane and starting to delve into it. more of an open sandbox way of learning is way better than do career agent one, do this, end up in level 4 missions, and then you never realize what the game is truly about. I don't know that yeah, I believe the other path is better. Keep you active at doing the things that you like doing until you're confident enough to join a corporation.
Hmm. Yeah, I think it's more difficult. It's a bigger challenge, but I think if it works, it's certainly much more Eve like. So I would agree. Um,
I think we are also maybe underestimating and hopefully content creators. I think with the tools that you can create these missions with, you can you have an open text box. You can write it as a string of content. You can create missions that look like an epic arc. Um, Eventually, even at the start, you can address the player as a person in the Eve universe. You can role play. You can do all kinds of things with this to make it feel more natural. It's not just like deliver item to deliver X. There's more flavor to it.
yeah, I agree, and I intend to use them. Even I know a lot of content creators that are looking for ways to not only create content outside of Eve, but in the game, and also ways of we always come up with new shows to give away funds in game in creative ways, and this is giving us another tool in our toolbox. So that's very cool. One Moving away from the freelance projects, there's one thing that was announced, but we have heard very very little about, and that is the so-called gold rush, which is going to be
Yep.
some sort of comet mining, as I understand it. Can you is there something that you can share ahead of the launch of Legion next week?
We work in themes, uh, the dev team. So we try to provide a creative brief and a game design challenge to basically inspire both players and the dev team. And I think we've been working with big themes like organizational goals. This has been like 3 years in the running. We call them like they're strategic projects in a way, and that's like the lifetime of a strategic project is kind of like we're learning is kind of 2 to 3 years, where you're kind of like okay, you have your starting issues, you have your learning moments, like everything is terrible. Then you start like getting into the groove, you build up the tools, the technology, the confidence, and then you're like, okay, we're at the end here. We need to start winding this down. Like we're kind of done what we plan to do. We are now open to start like winding one down and spinning up a new one. And organizational goals are kind of coming into this. Okay, we're kind of done. We core projects, this thing, freelancing, different contribution methods, SRP, like alliance project is the culmination, but it's also the logical, like it's not that hard now. We've learned so much on the way. And then we basically have to start thinking, okay, what's the next thing to like what's the next cool theme for people to get excited about? And Gold Rush is basically a large theme for people to kind of just like say, okay, what like a bit what if? And Comet Mining is a bit like what if? Gold Rush is meant to be this kind of pioneering fantasy. Like, what does it mean to be a pioneer in Eve? Going out, finding gold mines, finding something that like is both surprising and dangerous. Some kind of an exploration fantasy a bit, but also a bit like surveying, like hands on in the dirt doing stuff, maybe with enemies. Like it's the frontier in some way. Klondike is these are all thematic words that we use to kind of express this. So, like when we think about that, okay, then a lot of ideas immediately spring up. Like, what's dangerous? Comet mining, that's cool. Salvaging like mega wrecks is cool. You know, some kind of different moons or what do like Moons and Abyss look like, or whatever. Like we're trying to explode the fantasy and then kind of pick up the best bits and kind of develop from there. So it is I would say a 2 to 3 year kind of venture to start like doing something bold in the resource gathering space. Simply.
Okay. And so right now it's a concept on the roadmap, and then we're going to see in the future different game elements fitting into this concept.
It's a theme that will be relevant for the next expansion.
Okay.
We're starting. We're in the inception phase at the moment, like, but development is immediately taking that into account.
Mhm. Let's switch over
So
to cool stuff. Yeah. Um, let's talk about the MER for a
yeah,
bit. The most recent MER for April showed a few very positive things, I think. So, for example, faucets are down, sinks are up. Those are all, I think, things that recent patches addressed. The rising money supply in EVE Online, what's from in my point of view a big cause for inflation or a risk in the long run. I think you've done very well at managing that. And then money supply still went up in April because we saw a very, very large active ISK delta, which is also a very positive thing because it shows people returning for for whatever reason, be it very good sales that you've been running, or the Capsuleer Day event, or FanFest, or whatever it is. What's your view on the current money supply? Where are we at currently with the sinks and faucets, and are you content, or do you see a lot of work still left to do?
I think the best takeaway is that we are showing that we're listening, monitoring, and acting, and that our actions actually work. Like when we do stuff, like we can impact the economy, which is a good first step. It's been a bit, I would say, like scary for this team to kind of get into the groove of like post equinox, figuring stuff out, getting things right. And I've been on the sidelines more saying like, hey, let's do smart small changes. Let's not like be too worried about this. Let's just make targeted improvements in specific places and build up the confidence that we are in control of the situation, or in control of our tools, let's say. So you're correct. Like the things that we have done have worked to lower a number or increase a number. That's basically where we're at the moment. Uh, I think this is basically exactly as we hoped. We were able to materially affect the MPI, specific targeted of resources that were bottlenecks. It doesn't mean that the plan is to remove all bottlenecks and just like flatline everything. There needs to be some kind of uh, geography or variation in these things, but I don't want to have like something like a meaningful part of the spaceships or modules being blocked by a resource availability. So I think it just I'm very happy about how this MER came through. I'm actually most happy about the drastic, or like the precisely on target reduction of battleship prices. That was a big part for me. Seeing
Yeah,
100 mil
there's
coming
a
up.
knock-on effect there as well that I'm going to ask in a second, but I want to just refer to bottleneck since you mentioned them right now. I think the bottleneck that currently is most talked about is exploration loot, because
Mhm,
especially if you're building dreads, there's loot that comes from exploration sites, specifically ghost sites that are very limited, hard to find, hard to farm, and in a way, of course, that's a gameplay element, and you have to
mhm.
have some sort of uh, incentive for them. But it does feel like right now that is a a material group that is especially vulnerable to um, market manipulation or dominance by certain players. Is that something that you're concerned about, or is that more, hey, that's how the economy is, and that's how we build it. That's working as intended.
So I'm very happy that it's proven to work, because we created these bottleneck components basically to have more control of specific ships. Um,
Mhm.
we lack the control; like everything was just like the same ingredients. So this is coming out of 2017. We needed to like figure out a way to control specific ship prices or availability. So having the bottleneck items um, is working, but and we also can affect the distribution and availability of those. So I think I'm pretty sure there are changes around this in Legion. If I don't think they're a surprise, but now I don't want to say.
Don't look at me. I'm my
I,
NDA is more punishing than yours, I think.
uh, there are plans to to improve the availability for this,
Mhm.
and that's really just now we fix the resources availability, like the raw minerals, but now we have this kind of this final vector is the loot items, and those are fairly easy to add. We simply add them to loot tables of NPCs and stuff like that, so it's not a hard problem to solve.
I think it's always a question of, as you say, it's specific to dreads, for example. If the reason they are popular is because also other capital ships are more expensive. So I think it's always a back and forth between, well, what are we what are alliances wanting to spend and wanting to fly, and what are the resources available. So it's good that you have these levers, and it's if you're using them, even better. um yeah, I
Yes.
mean, yeah,
No,
it's
we're looking at the capital prices, and they haven't decreased as much as we expected, but
no.
the market isn't the market price isn't the only indicator. Things are being built as well that are not going on the market.
Mhm.
But yes, I think there's definitely a way to take them a bit more down, and not just reds, but capitals. We're continuing to get to a place where they're a little bit more or less expensive.
I want to
Working
quickly
on
talk about
that.
Metanox
Yeah.
moon mining. In the March 12th patch, the large patch that recently happened, or the largest patch that recently happened, you increased the cost of running them. I think also it was stated in the patch notes that you did that um, to take some of the downward pressure off our 4 moon items that were very, very cheap. At
Mhm.
the same time, um, you also reduced the amount of required R4 moon materials in the economy, because you reduced a lot of
Mm.
or 25% of the bill of material in tier 1 battleships specifically. Is that something you're looking at right now? Because I mean, clearly R4 metanoxing is still the majority of ore hitting the economy. So is that something that concerns you, that you're looking at, or how do you feel
Yes.
about that?
The original design for or the vision for the Matinox was that we would have the levers to manage these things, so that they would primarily be used for high-end materials. They wouldn't be like the main way to mine moons. We simply don't have the design levers at the moment to do that, and um, I have asked the team, or the economy design team, to take this, to add more levers, more variability to Metanoxes, more control mechanisms of which are like some kind of skewing within the Metanox distribution. Basically, maybe where based on geography or security or something. But right now, it's far too binary to actually do the things that it was intended to do. It's a good thing, but it is having these Metanoxes are a beautiful thing. It completely made a huge change to the ecosystem. But this is where we could fine tune it a bit more.
So we can expect still fine tuning to happen with the Metanox system going forward.
Yes, I think we need more fine tuning levers for like the inputs and the outputs for the Metanox. So I would call it an updated design, but it's not like happening tomorrow. But it's top of our minds.
Before we jump into actually, before we jump into the viewer questions, because I see that BPO research question being asked, on Discord several times and now in chat again. So I'll ask you in a second. One last question about the MPI. So yes, the MPI was down in April. I think it was something like 6.5% from March. So it was down, but it didn't crash after the March 12th patch. Let's say there are still some minerals that are expensive for various reasons, like pyrite or Zydrine currently. I know CCP Okami said he was gonna have a look at it and communicate with the community, which he has done on 1 or 2 occasions. Is this clearly there's always going to be some bottleneck, otherwise it's really pointless.
That's very boring.
but like pyrite specifically, like, do you see that as a knock-on effect from Metanox moon mining, or or is that something that you're concerned about?
I think we're almost in the weeds now of like I'm hoping that the team is basically just going to make rational decisions. We have we call it economic council or forum where we debate these things internally. And I think there's like, now that we are more like we have the fine tuning levers, I think we're basically going to talk about every mineral. Is this a thing we should take a look at? Is this a thing that we need to take a look at? What's the knock-on effect of lowering this? Is it just like an availability issue in one, like security? Like, do we need to put pyrite in high sec, or do we need to reduce it here? Or like, I think now we're in the kind of like tactics. It's no longer strategic. It's only about tactics. And I think the team is going to every 3 months at least in the major updates, and then maybe sprinkle on top an expansion, like fine tuning of the economy. So I think it's one pyrite now, and the next mineral is going to be the next mineral. So I think it's going to be like a just careful fine tuning. I think that's the best way to do it. Like from now on, drastic changes would just kind of start having a negative effect as well.
Investors rejoice. That's how we make money. Moving into some viewer questions that we had, and the one that's been said in chat here a few times is a question about BPO research costs, because the cost multiplier was changed. I think it was about a year ago, and this had some knock-on effects that, for example, as Futility here puts in chat, 70 billion plus cost to research super capital BPOs. At the time, it looked to me more like an inadvertent side effect of a change, because it's so absurdly high that it's making it virtually impossible for new industrialists to go in and compete with existing industrialists who have these researched already. Is there something you can say about this? Like, have you heard about this?
Yes, I've heard plenty about it. It is if I'm not mistaken, and you can correct me, it's either connected or slightly connected or directly connected to the expected item value calculation, um, which is wrong
Mhm.
and has a really obscure and complicated, overcomplicated formula to fix some kind of faction warfare LP abuse literally 10 or 12 years ago, I think, 2014, if I'm not mistaken. So those changes 12 years ago are now kind of having a um, this kind of impact that we like when we change a thing, a different thing happened than we expected. And this is simply a knock-on effect that wasn't intended. We are going to fix the expected item value formula. It's again one of the top of the list thing to just like clean up the economy. I would expect this to be changed, and then the follow-up change would be to have the change the blueprint. There's a blueprint multiplier hidden in there somewhere that is wrong. So recognize the problem. We're going to fix it.
You're going to make a lot of people happy by fixing that. It's probably the number one most thing that people bring up to me in terms of CSM.
It's
um,
Feldman's favorite topic.
yes. um, One question from our community supporter Crota. He's asking, so when you're deciding to change something about the environment, the economy in EVE Online, you have different levers like taxes and fees on the one hand, as we just discussed. You have sinks and faucets. You have resource availability. When you're looking at a problem, how do you decide what to do? Is there some sort of economic council? Do you ask the CSM? And obviously, I know these answers, but I'm asking for the community.
Yeah. You can bring up the my favorite
Yeah.
picture if you want.
Yes.
The So it's obviously a science, but not an accurate science. And there's a lot of things that go into it, but there's definitely qualitative and quantitative um, that combines with effort as well. Like what's the difficult thing? What's the easy thing? What are the levers that we already have? So, for example, the Metinox. Like the only lever that we really have is the output and the input is just magma. Like we don't have any other things to change. So the only thing we can do is make number go up or make number go down. Um, that's when that's where we try to look for like, do we need to like with design to add like new fine tuning levers? And we are trying to approach more things from a tax perspective. Taxes aren't really very fun gameplay.
Mhm.
It's also pretty kind of unfair way to do it because like most of the tax things and fees have a skill requirement that just lower it, which creates a veteran advantage. So I'm a bigger fan of activity like more VAT types of taxes or fees that don't have like this knock-on effect of multi-taxing. So I think also faucets, gameplay, donations, like inspiring loss instead of like destruction is our favorite sink. Just like get more expensive things into space, have them blown up. That's the best way to regulate the economy. But if you look at that, the core, we basically have, if you imagine this as two spinning wheels, like every component has a version of Potsven has a contribution, destruction, creation aspect to it. So we basically go around, look at each of the habitats. How's Potsven? How are wormholes? How is this? How is PI? Why is it not working? What is the thing? Is it a supply issue? Is it a demand issue? Is it a meta issue? Is there dominance here or there? So there's a lot of sensing. There's a lot of taking inputs from the community, from our own player, like our devs that are players is a big part of it. The CSM, the strongest advocate. because they basically are sensing through thousands of players often or usually. And then just the data. And we basically like my job is to oversee and regulate all these inputs into problems to solve or like capabilities to evolve for the teams, and then they get themes and they get big picture problems and try to figure it out, propose some changes.
You mentioned taxes. By the way, you have my blessing if you want to remove the skill requirements for with an influence on taxing. I imagine doing that retroactively is very complex, but I do think it's not very Eve like, because it's just a straight up, okay, you know, you can be a better trader, a more effective trader or actor in the market if you just wait, and it's not very skill based, and but it's
Yeah,
20 years old, 22 years old.
yeah. Fundamentally, it doesn't make sense
No.
to me, uh, which is why like my little pet project is to make life for new manufacturers like more achievable, because basically um, I don't like it when everything is just about ISK, and like all the questions you ask about like what should I manufacture this, should I do
Hmm.
this, and it's always no, someone else can do it better than you. There's
Yep.
no there's no artisan there's no artisan bakery. It's just one person making the best donuts. It's just like no, it's all commodities. It's all just Walmart donuts, and you can't compete on Walmart donuts because Walmart makes them cheaper than everyone else. So it's like there's no flavor for that, and there's no incentive for someone to try to break into it. So people start avoiding it. But this is like to me, crafting is fundamental to an MMO. I'm a I probably said this before, but I'm like in World of Warcraft. My wife would say like, what are you doing right now? And I said, I'm just on my goat picking flowers. Leave me alone. 'Cause I liked the resource gathering. I like crafting, making potions. Like this stuff was like really fun to me. Like
Hmm.
making money off the market was like secondary, totally secondary. I just like crafting. I like being self sufficient, and I know there's people like me. And I would hate to be told like, don't do that. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make you enough money to like you can't compete. Like so you're basically like telling me not to do a thing that I enjoy because I can't compete in the market. And I don't like that fundamentally. So I want to be able to say like, okay, what is a way for me to actually contribute to the economy, even if there's no like appetite for the things that I make? How can I make a difference in the world? I think that's where NPC item delivery goals like freelancing almost could come up. Like if we have like some kind of a dynamic system where like there's NPC appetite or NPC supply demand, like for really useless new player things. So almost like manufacturing gray loot, like that no one's going to use or is like almost unusable in the economy, but I can donate it or I can contribute it to it or like I can deliver it to some NPC station, and then I feel like I'm doing something. I'm helping the NPC empires or whatever. So that's something that's like big for me. And then if we break through that barrier, we can start talking about the more fair approach of the skills and taxes and fees.
I think it's that goes on a lot in EVE Online, and I agree with you. It's frustrating because the answer to should I do manufacturing, as you say, is always going to be
No.
no, not
Yeah.
if you want to
Right.
min max. But I think the number of people that are wanting to do it versus the number of people that want to do it profitably, is the former numbers is higher, and it's important that we give them opportunities for sure. Absolutely. Um, by the way, one idea could be that if you add a tag where you could see who made a ship, then
100%.
that opens the door to artisans. It opens the door to boycotting, to favoritism. It's drama generation. It's I think some other games have done that in the past, right? So this
Just
could be cool.
um, I've always thought like mutaplasmids are a totally underused way to do this. Um, that has the signature, that has the creator on it. The issue here is that like they become technically we call them singletons. They're no longer a commodity. They are like have a unique ID in the database, so they can't be traded on the market. So uh, this is why fundamentally we created the Paragon Hub trading mechanic,
Mhm.
because the skins that we're trading, they're actually singletons.
Mhm.
So Paragon Hub may look like a personalization custom like skin creation tool, but it's meant to be way more than that. We're solving a lot of future problems by developing it. And just like Quasar has been, if you read Nick Herring's CCP
Mhm.
Chimichanga's dev blog, um, like skin propagation needed like a whole technical solution called presence, Quasar presence. So we are evolving technology through these. Every single feature has a technical purpose. We're trying to progress our own capabilities, not just player value. So when we find something that people want and have asked for, we try to evolve our technology at the same time. So people wanted to personalize their ships, their skins, their structures. So we lean into that and we solve actual problems underneath the hood that we need for something else. And fundamentally, all those things that we are talking about um, are hidden behind a difficulty or UX issue of where do I even get blueprints? Oh, you go like you have to get them the contracts. Okay, how do I get this stuff? Oh, it's just like it's another complexity to just for discovery. So if we bring more of that like into this storefront uh, view of like, okay, how do I find ship fittings? How do I find blueprints? How do I find these things? Like the UX of the Paragon Hub is infinitely better than contracts. So hopefully we can bring more things into this, make singletons more easy to trade and make. Packet ships are, for example, singleton. Um, if we can open this up, like we're talking about like a 100-fold ease of trading, which I think this like the people listening should be very excited about.
Indeed.
I
Aleventi
forgot the question.
asked, yeah, Aleventi asked, and no, we were talking about the putting
Yes,
names on
artisan creation for new
artisan
players. Yes,
bakeries,
yes, yes.
donuts. Um, Aleventi asked in our Discord about alchemy, which is maybe a little known feature that is in the game. And the question is, in 2008, alchemy was introduced to the game to allow conversion of one item into another at rates that are only efficient during massive shortages, to allow players to continue to do what they want, and allow the market to continue to function until CCP can step in with a more long-term solution. CCP has only used this for Moongoo so far. It likely would have massively helped during the MPI spikes we witnessed over the last few years. What are your thoughts on expanding the solution to mineral salvages, data, relic site drops, gas, ice, etc., etc.?
Uh, the easy and like fun answer is that I said 4 years ago, we desperately need something like alchemy in the game to be able to self-regulate. And then someone told me about like, oh, we actually have alchemy. Uh, then kind of like the Ring of Power, it just got forgotten for a couple of years. Because the idea was like the gameplay isn't cool. Like we can elevate the gameplay. We can like, make alchemy more interesting. We can bring it into. So it kind of like, oh, okay, then it just sounds big. So like we're not going to do it for now. Um, Now I have a renewed interest in this. This actually was a big topic at the CSM summit. Um, I think it's a beautiful way to self-regulate the economy, give people like bad exchange rates,
Mhm.
but the flexibility to be able to make those changes. If you have a stockpile of something, totally change it to something else, like at a cost. I think it's perfect. It's basically Settlers of Catan um, in the game. Like, yeah, I'll give you bread for 7 gold. Like, okay, that's a terrible exchange rate, but like I need it. So like I need it. This also would make nullsec way more flexible, and then
Mhm.
we could also create, for example, reactions that can only be done in nullsec. We can give nullsec a unique material or more of a certain material, and we use that, and then we are not impacting the rest of the economy as much. So starting to make geography matter even more and have more autonomy in nullsec. We've always wanted more autonomy in nullsec. It's just like not uncontrolled autonomy. So
Great.
alchemy all the way. I really want to like just blow it up, make it more way more available. Make all kinds of formulas for exchanging. Maybe something to do with a new
Love it.
solve upgrade. That could be a an unlock to do something to make the rates even better or something like that. But like I think this could be a game changer. I truly think. And then I think we should stop regulating resource faucets as much. I truly think we shouldn't be like messing with the fabric of the universe all the time. Like I'd rather have something more dynamic on top that's smarter than just going in and changing numbers.
Great. Yeah, I think as long as
Yeah.
there's some sort of connection to some sort of logic to it, or some sort of connection to lore, then it's not you know, turning turning something into
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
something else with no connection to it. I think that would
No,
then
no,
be
it's like
immersion breaking. But yeah,
narrative
I hear you.
logic.
Yeah. So next to last question um, is I'm going to paraphrase this question because it's very long, but it's again from Oliventi. He's asking, LP is a huge part of the EVE economy, loyalty points. And in the MER, we have very, very little information about LP, which makes it difficult for us, or maybe even for CCP, depending on how much you look at it, to make decisions or inferences based on LP. Would it be possible to get more information about LP in the MER or somewhere else?
It's a yes and a no on this. I don't think LP should be exactly like hard currency, like actual currency. LP is in a way a more of a I don't know what to call it. It's not like really. It doesn't have inherent value. It only has the value that like stems from the offers in the LP stores that can be translated. So and also they represent literal loyalty to a faction or something like
Mhm.
that. So I don't think that like it's not like that I know like in an army or in a faction or a corporation, like I can't tell you like, okay, I'm a 76 in this corporation. Like it's a fictional currency in that sense.
Mhm.
So I don't know that I like the idea, and I never really liked the idea of like an exchange hall for LP. I like it being like on the periphery, being like more like kind of like I'll send you my stuff, but it's like kind of undercover. Um, so that stops it from being in the MER, but I don't know that it needs to. I don't know what like you're gonna do with the information either. So like I don't have like a sure it should be in the MER, but I don't also have like a no it should never be in the MER. It's more just like I'm on the fence and I don't need it to be in the MER. I don't know why you need it either, except to just game some kind of LP store game, which is like obviously fun for you, but I don't know that it's good for the game.
I think it's more of a question of stockpiles, possibly, that it is very relevant to, for example, faction warfare corporations, et cetera, to see how much is out there, how much is being generated, et cetera. But it's, the same can be said about a lot of different parts in Eve that are more or less transparent depending on what you as CCP, or maybe also we as CCP and CSM, decide uh, players should or should not know based on pros and
Sure,
cons. I mean, it's yeah.
sure. Um, I am hoping that that we have the ability to start doing something more with LP. We still owe you the LP transaction ledger.
Hmm.
We are fully aware, uh, and I would actually like to do. There's a lot of issues with faction warfare, and always have been. Like it's like any other system. It's like it becomes gameable in a sense, and like people figure out how to circumvent the rules and the intended gameplay. And we did do a big faction warfare push for a couple of years even, and we're still modifying and kind of iterating on those functions. But to me, there's a lot of potential in faction warfare slash LP gameplay. I think my biggest pet peeve about LP is like the rigidness of the LP store offers. Like they're just always the same.
Hmm.
There's no variation. There's no fluctuation in prices. There's no it's just like it's just static, and it's probably my least favorite part of the LP economy. So I think we could, if we start by having variation there. I also think that there's ways to promote loyalty and reputation and standings by having gated stuff in the stores more, and maybe purchase limitations as well. Like you can't buy more than 10 of X or 100X or whatever based on standings. That would make loyalty more important to like, okay, loyalty actually means something more than just like a discount or like access to a permanently priced item in the game. And this would just create more interesting flavor. And I think at that point, I think an LP MER section would be warranted.
Hmm. Last question. That is from me, and I've seen it in chat here one or two times as well. Last week we talked about CCP numbers and Pearl Abyss earnings numbers for 2024 and Q1 2025 respectively, and it is clear that both reports showed that um, the companies aren't profitable right now in this year or last year, because, or especially CCP games, because they're investment years, right? You're presumably running Eve Online profitably, but at the same time investing a lot into Eve Frontier and Eve Vanguard and one or two other projects. Is this like, what's your personal opinion as a employee and leader in within CCP games? Is that something you pay attention to, or is that something where you say, well, I'm here to do my job. I do my job, and uh, the rest is Hilmar's problem.
Uh, a lot of it is Hilmar's problem. I'm like you say, I'm aware and active in these conversations. But like you say, my job is to maintain Eve growth, keep it, get it, like we got it back on track. We are in a growth trend post COVID. Our engagement KPIs, sentiment, even revenue, like you say, is on the up, and that's my biggest focus, is to keep doing that, keep elevating. And I think, like I said at FanFest, like there have been like a lot of like learning moments. There's a lot of like momentum that has been built up in the last couple of years, and we're really feeling it right now. So like the coast is clear for like bold stuff, I would say. We like that gold rush is a bold new vision. It's about new technology, new platforms, new graphics, new gameplay, new experiences. So we're not in maintain, fix, support, salvage mode. We're in like grow, expand, be bold. So I think we are the Eve team is on a really good trajectory, and Eve overall, the community as well. And I'm also responsible for managing the development of Vanguard, very responsibly, like within a budget. So, but there is definitely investment there. There's also investment, like you said, in Frontier, Galaxy Quest, Galaxy Command, and we are basically, obviously, with any investment, you plan to have a return on it, recouping that stuff, and that's basically the responsibility of other people. And I hope they are doing super well and successful. But as you say, we are responsible for this part of the function, and that's doing well, considering 20 years.
Great. I think
More
that's
than already.
that's a great end to our hour-long interview here. Rattati, thank you so much for joining us again on
Thank you very
stream.
much.
Hopefully, we'd love to have you back anytime, whenever there's something new to talk about.
I like these post MER conversations. They're a good like reminder to go talk more, do more, say more, talk about vision and tactics and fun stuff.
Awesome. The community appreciates this massively, and that's what they play back to me as well. Hopefully, you hear that as well. Great. Have a great rest of the
Thank you so
day
much. Yeah, you too.
over in Europe, as our sun is setting here in Australia. And everyone else, we're going to take a 5-minute break, and then I'll be back for a quick debrief. Bye, Rattati.
All right.